Sophia was an ordinary little girl who lived in the bustling village of Enchantia. She wasn't royalty, or even someone who thought much about castles and crowns. Her days were filled with simple joys, helping her mother, Miranda, in their modest cobbler's shop, racing through the market square with friends, and marveling at the vibrant colors of village life. Sophia's brown hair and bright, curious eyes made her stand out, not because of riches or titles, but because of her unshakable kindness. Miranda was a skilled shoemaker, and Sophia often sat beside her, threading laces and polishing leather, while her mother worked tirelessly. Theirs was a life of hard work, but also warmth, built on love and laughter. While other children sometimes dreamed of palaces and ballrooms, Sophia was content with the home she had. Her favorite part of the day was storytelling at night, when Miranda would share tales of courage, adventure, and princesses. Sophia would listen with wonder, but never imagined those stories could one day become her own reality. Everything changed when King Roland II of Enchantia visited the village. Known as a fair and noble ruler, he had often walked among his people, seeking to understand their lives. On this particular day, he needed a new pair of riding boots, and Miranda's shop was recommended as the finest in the kingdom. When he entered, Sophia was struck by how kind he seemed, despite his crown and regal attire. King Roland admired Miranda's craftsmanship, but it was her warm spirit that caught his attention most. Over the weeks that followed, King Roland returned more than once, finding excuses to stop by. Soon, those visits blossomed into companionship. To Sophia's amazement, she watched her mother and the king share laughter, stories, and eventually affection. The announcement came like a thunderclap in the village. King Roland intended to marry Miranda, making her queen and Sophia his stepdaughter. The idea of becoming a princess felt unreal to Sophia. She loved her life in the village and wondered how she could possibly fit into the grand world of royalty. Yet, deep inside, she was curious. What did it mean to live in a castle, to attend royal feasts, to wear gowns of silk and satin? On the day of the royal wedding, Sophia's heart pounded with both joy and nerves. She watched her mother, radiant in her gown, marry the king in a grand ceremony filled with trumpets, banners, and cheers. The villagers celebrated while Sophia stood shyly at her mother's side, trying to take it all in. By the time the vows were exchanged, her life had already changed forever. She was no longer just Sophia, the cobbler's daughter. She was Sophia, Princess of Enchantia. Her first glimpse of the castle was overwhelming. Towers spiraled into the sky, stained-glass windows shimmered in the sunlight, and sprawling gardens stretched as far as her eyes could see. Inside, gilded hallways and chandeliers left her speechless. Yet Sophia quickly realized that being surrounded by grandeur did not erase her doubts. She was greeted by her new step-siblings, Princess Amber and Prince James. James was cheerful and friendly, welcoming her with enthusiasm, but Amber's eyes narrowed with skepticism. To Amber, a princess should be born royal, not made by marriage. From the very beginning, Sophia felt Amber's distance and disapproval, and it planted seeds of insecurity in her heart. That night, alone in her grand new bedroom, Sophia whispered to herself, "I'm not sure I belong here." She pressed her face into the pillow, remembering her old home, the cobbler's shop, the laughter of the villagers, and the simplicity of her past seemed far away. Yet she also remembered her mother's words, "Kindness is always your greatest crown." With those words echoing in her heart, Sophia drifted into sleep, unaware of how many adventures awaited her in the days ahead. The morning after the royal wedding began Sophia's first official day as a princess. A team of attendants bustled into her room before the sun was fully up, carrying silken gowns, polished shoes, and jeweled tiaras. To Sophia, who was used to pulling on simple village dresses, the process of being dressed by others felt strange. She tried to smile, but the weight of the crown placed gently on her head felt heavier than she had expected. At breakfast in the glittering dining hall, Sophia quickly noticed the vast differences between her new life and her old one. Silver goblets, golden plates, and servants waiting on every word. It was overwhelming. King Roland encouraged her warmly, telling her she would soon grow accustomed to royal customs. Queen Miranda squeezed Sophia's hand reassuringly, but Amber's carefully polite smile concealed her judgment. She whispered to James, who stifled a laugh, making Sophia's cheeks burn with embarrassment. Later that day, King Roland introduced Sophia to the Royal Prep Academy, the school where young royals learned everything from ballroom etiquette to history, diplomacy, and even fencing. Princess Amber and Prince James both attended, and now it was Sophia's turn. She was nervous but curious, her heart racing as the carriage rolled through the academy gates. Inside, Sophia met 3 enchanting headmistresses, the fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, who had long guided royal children with wisdom and care. They welcomed her warmly, assuring her that she had everything it took to succeed. Their kindness gave Sophia hope, though Amber's smirk reminded her it would not be easy. The lessons at Royal Prep were unlike anything Sophia had ever known. She stumbled through curtsies, tripped during dance practice, and confused her history lessons. At fencing class, James encouraged her, laughing good-naturedly at her mistakes, but Amber's sharp remarks made Sophia's failures sting. "A true princess wouldn't do that," Amber whispered when Sophia spilled a goblet of juice at lunch, making Sophia's heart sink. Still, Sophia's determination never wavered. She told herself she didn't need to be perfect right away. She only needed to try her best. That night, back in her castle room, she stared at the stars through her window and whispered, "I will learn. I will prove that I belong here." Her resolve was soon rewarded in an unexpected way. King Roland presented her with a special gift, a beautiful necklace called the Amulet of Avalor. The moment it touched her neck, Sophia felt a spark of magic pulse through her body. The amulet shimmered with mysterious power, though she had no idea of its full abilities. King Roland told her it was a symbol of trust and responsibility, a reminder that being a princess meant helping others, not just wearing crowns. Sophia touched the amulet thoughtfully, feeling both awe and nervousness. She didn't know yet that the amulet would soon bring challenges, dangers, and even friends from beyond her imagination. But for now, she closed her eyes and promised herself one thing. She would be the kind of princess her mother always told her about, one who wore kindness as her crown and courage as her guide. The Amulet of Avalor gleamed against Sophia's neck like a tiny spark of sunlight. At first she thought it was only a beautiful piece of jewelry, but almost immediately she realized it was something far more extraordinary. That very evening, when she tried to pick up her pet rabbit Clover for comfort, she gasped. For the first time, she could understand him. Clover twitched his whiskers, looked up at her, and said, "Finally, someone who speaks my language." Sophia nearly fell over in shock. The amulet had granted her the ability to talk to animals. At first, Clover teased her, joking about fancy dresses and castle life, but he quickly became her confidant. Sophia found relief in having a friend who didn't care whether she was a princess or a villager. Clover reminded her of the values she had always lived by: friendship, honesty, and kindness. Together, they began to navigate the strange new world of royalty. The next day, Sophia wore the amulet to Royal Prep. She felt a sense of pride, but also nervousness. She hoped it would help her find her place. The fairies noticed the necklace immediately, exchanging surprised glances. Flora leaned in and whispered, "That's no ordinary trinket, dear." But they didn't explain further. Instead, they simply smiled, telling Sophia she would learn its secrets in time. In the classroom, Sophia faced yet another challenge. The students were preparing for the upcoming royal ball, a grand event where every prince and princess showcased their dancing skills before the kingdom. For Sophia, who had never even attended a ball, the idea was terrifying. She tried to keep her balance during practice, but she stepped on toes, tripped over her own feet, and once even landed flat on the floor. Amber smirked at every mistake, whispering to her friends about how unprincess-like Sophia was. That night, Sophia sat in the castle garden, staring at the sea, and tugging on her amulet. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. Clover hopped beside her. "Hey, don't let Amber get in your head. You've got heart, kid, and that's better than perfect dancing shoes." His encouragement helped, but Sophia still felt the weight of expectations. Unknown to Sophia, someone else had been watching her closely. Cedric the sorcerer, the royal magician. Cedric was secretly plotting to steal the Amulet of Avalor. He knew its powers went far beyond talking to animals. It could summon princesses of the past, grant magical abilities, and in the wrong hands, give ultimate control. Cedric muttered to himself in his tower, "If I could get my hands on that amulet, I'd finally rule Enchantia." His eyes glittered with ambition, and his schemes had only just begun. Meanwhile, Sophia's training continued. James encouraged her at every turn, reminding her that mistakes didn't mean failure. Even so, Amber's jealousy deepened. She wanted the spotlight at the royal ball, and Sophia's presence threatened to steal it. When Sophia tried to practice with Amber, hoping for sisterly bonding, Amber coldly dismissed her. "You'll only embarrass us in front of the whole kingdom," she sneered. The words pierced Sophia's heart like arrows. But fate had other plans. The amulet, sensing Sophia's despair, shimmered with sudden light. Out of thin air, a graceful figure appeared. Cinderella, the legendary princess herself. Sophia gasped, staring at the glowing vision before her. Cinderella smiled kindly and said, "The amulet has brought me here to help you. You see, every princess who wears it learns that true royalty comes from within." With gentle wisdom, Cinderella reminded Sophia that she didn't need to outshine anyone. She only needed to be herself. She taught Sophia a few dance steps, but more importantly, she gave her confidence. "The greatest crown you can wear is kindness," Cinderella whispered, before fading away. That night, Sophia stood taller. She wasn't just a village girl in borrowed jewels. She was a princess with a heart full of courage, and the amulet had chosen her for a reason. The days at Royal Prep Academy grew busier as the royal ball drew nearer. Lessons became more intense, and Sophia found herself practicing from dawn until dusk. Every corner of the academy buzzed with excitement. Students rehearsed dances, rehearsed songs, and polished etiquette to perfection. For Sophia, the pressure was heavier. She wasn't born into this life, and the whispers of other students sometimes reminded her of that. Yet she pressed forward, determined to prove that she belonged. Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather guided Sophia with patience. During dance class, they corrected her steps, gently encouraging her to keep trying. "Grace comes with practice," Flora said warmly. In etiquette lessons, Merryweather reminded her to sit tall and speak with confidence. Fauna taught her that a smile often solved more problems than frowns or arguments. Sophia absorbed every word, treasuring their guidance like lanterns in the dark. Prince James became her greatest ally at school. He often offered to practice with her, joking to lighten her nerves. "If you trip, I'll trip too," he whispered once, making her laugh mid-spin. Their bond grew quickly, and Sophia found comfort in having at least one sibling who believed in her. Amber, however, was another story. She thrived on perfection, always dressed in the finest gowns and eager to be the center of attention. To her, Sophia was a threat, an outsider stealing her spotlight. Whenever Sophia improved, Amber grew colder. "A real princess doesn't stumble," Amber would say, or, "Try not to ruin the ball for us." Her words chipped away at Sophia's confidence, but they also ignited a quiet determination within her. One afternoon, Sophia overheard Amber telling classmates that she planned to outshine everyone at the royal ball. "Father will be so proud of me," Amber boasted, casting a smug glance at Sophia. It was clear she saw the ball as her chance to prove superiority, not to celebrate family. Sophia sighed, wishing they could simply be sisters, not rivals. Back at the castle, Sophia confided in Clover, who was munching on carrots in her room. "Amber doesn't want me here," she said sadly. Clover twitched his ears and replied, "So what? You're not here for Amber. You're here for your mom, for yourself, and for everyone who believes in you. Stop trying to be perfect for her. Be Sophia." His simple wisdom made her smile. But challenges were not only at school. Cedric the sorcerer continued scheming in the shadows. From his tower, he watched Sophia practice with the amulet around her neck. "Soon, that trinket will be mine," he hissed, concocting spells to trick her into handing it over. He disguised his intentions with polite words whenever he crossed her path, but his eyes betrayed greed. Sophia, too innocent to suspect, simply thanked him whenever he offered help. The day of the royal ball rehearsal arrived, and Sophia was nervous. Standing in the grand hall, she could feel dozens of eyes on her as she prepared to dance. At first her steps faltered, and she almost lost balance. But then she remembered Cinderella's words, "The greatest crown is kindness." With that thought, she relaxed, letting her heart guide her movements. Slowly, her steps became steady, her twirls graceful. By the end, applause filled the hall. Amber's smile was tight, her eyes flashing with jealousy. James clapped enthusiastically, while King Roland and Queen Miranda beamed with pride. For the first time, Sophia truly felt she belonged. Yet, deep inside, she knew her journey was only beginning. The royal ball was coming soon, and with it, the greatest test of her new life as a princess. While Sophia worked hard at royal prep and prepared for the ball, Cedric the sorcerer was busy weaving schemes in his gloomy tower. Books of spells stacked high on crooked shelves, bubbling cauldrons hissed with smoke, and magical ingredients clattered as he paced the floor. His eyes glowed with greed every time he thought of the Amulet of Avalor. "That trinket could make me the most powerful sorcerer in all the kingdoms," he muttered, stroking his beard. "All I need is for that gullible little princess to hand it over." Cedric knew the amulet's magic could grant powers beyond imagination, but only to the one who wore it. If he could steal it, the throne of Enchantia would soon be his. To achieve his goal, he decided to trick Sophia into trusting him. He rehearsed friendly words, practiced bowing, and even baked a batch of cookies, though they were charred by the time they left his oven. The next day, Cedric intercepted Sophia in the castle hallway. With an exaggerated smile, he said, "Ah, Princess Sophia, how splendid you look today. That amulet suits you wonderfully. Such a powerful piece of jewelry. Such a pretty necklace." Sophia blinked, a little confused by his eagerness, but thanked him politely. "I happen to know all about magical jewelry," Cedric continued, leaning closer. "If you'd ever like me to polish it or, say, safeguard it in my tower, I'd be delighted." Clover, perched nearby, twitched his nose suspiciously. "Sounds fishy to me," he whispered, though only Sophia could hear. Sophia hesitated, remembering Cinderella's advice about listening to her heart. Something about Cedric's offer felt wrong, so she smiled politely and said, "Thank you, but I think I'll keep it with me." Cedric's smile faltered, but he quickly covered it with an awkward laugh. Of course, keep it close, very close." As he shuffled away, his muttering turned dark. "She won't resist me forever. I'll find another way." Meanwhile, preparations for the royal ball continued. The castle hummed with activity, tailors stitching gowns, musicians rehearsing melodies, and servants decorating halls with glittering chandeliers and silk drapes. Sophia's nerves grew with each passing day. Although she had improved her dancing, she still worried about making a mistake in front of the entire kingdom. Amber, meanwhile, focused on outshining everyone. She spent hours perfecting her steps, her gown, and her tiara, all while sneering at Sophia's simpler style. "The ball is about elegance," Amber said one afternoon. "And you can't just charm people with kindness. You need perfection." Sophia bit her lip, unsure how to respond, but Clover's voice in her ear reminded her, "Ignore her. You've got this." On the eve of the ball, Sophia sneaked into the garden to calm her nerves. The moonlight shimmered on her amulet, and once again it glowed. This time, another figure appeared before her, Snow White. Sophia gasped, bowing instinctively. Snow White's kind eyes sparkled as she spoke. "The amulet has brought me here to remind you that true beauty shines from kindness and courage. Don't let jealousy cloud your heart. Even when others treat you unfairly, answer with gentleness. That is the mark of a true princess." Sophia nodded, soaking in the wisdom. Snow White's presence reassured her, giving her the strength to face whatever challenges awaited. But Cedric had not given up. Hidden in the shadows of the garden, he watched the glowing amulet with hungry eyes. "Soon," he whispered, "very soon, it will be mine." The day of the royal ball dawned bright and full of promise. Sunlight streamed through the castle windows as the kingdom of Enchantia bustled with anticipation. Guests arrived from distant lands, carriages lined the courtyard, and trumpets heralded the grand occasion. Inside her chamber, Sophia stood before a mirror, her heart fluttering with nerves. She wore a lavender gown embroidered with delicate flowers, chosen not for extravagance, but for its simple elegance. The Amulet of Avalor gleamed at her neck, reminding her of the magical journey she had begun. Miranda entered, smiling with pride. "You look beautiful, Sophia," she said, adjusting a strand of her daughter's hair. "Remember, being a princess isn't about impressing others. It's about being true to yourself." Sophia hugged her tightly, comforted by her mother's words. As evening fell, the grand ballroom filled with glittering chandeliers and golden music. Princes and princesses twirled across the floor, their gowns sparkling like jewels. King Roland and Queen Miranda greeted guests warmly, while Amber strutted confidently, eager to display her perfection. James bounded about cheerfully, urging Sophia to join him. When her turn came, Sophia stepped onto the dance floor, her heart pounding. At first her steps were shaky, but she remembered Cinderella's lessons and Snow White's wisdom. Slowly, her movements became graceful, her confidence blooming. Guests began to smile and applaud, charmed by her sincerity. Even those who had doubted her earlier whispered in admiration. Amber, watching from the sidelines, clenched her fists. She couldn't believe Sophia was capturing the crowd's attention. Determined to reclaim the spotlight, Amber made a bold entrance onto the dance floor. She twirled and spun with dazzling precision, her gown glittering under the lights. Yet in her eagerness, she bumped into other dancers, disrupting the rhythm. The crowd's smiles faded and whispers grew. Sophia, seeing her sister falter, quickly extended her hand. "Dance with me, Amber," she said kindly. Amber hesitated, pride warring with embarrassment. But as Sophia's gentle smile reassured her, she accepted. Together, the sisters danced, their movements complementing each other beautifully. The crowd erupted in applause, touched by the unity between them. Amber blushed, realizing that Sophia's kindness had saved her from humiliation. But the night was not free from danger. Cedric lurked near the stage, watching the amulet gleam with every step Sophia took. He muttered an incantation under his breath, ready to cast a spell that would snatch the necklace from her neck. Just as he raised his wand, Clover noticed him. With a bold leap, the rabbit launched himself at Cedric's feet, causing the sorcerer to stumble and drop his wand with a loud clatter. Gasps filled the ballroom as Cedric scrambled to his knees, mumbling excuses. Just, testing the floor's stability," he stammered. King Roland frowned but chose not to press the matter in front of the guests. Sophia, however, felt a strange chill run through her. Clover whispered urgently, "Watch out for him, Sophia. He's after your amulet." The ball continued, but Sophia's mind whirled. She had faced jealousy, insecurity, and doubt, but now she understood that darker dangers lurked too. The amulet was powerful, and people would try to misuse it. Yet, as she glanced around the ballroom, at her family, her friends, and even Amber smiling shyly at her, Sophia realized she wasn't alone. With courage, kindness, and those she loved by her side, she could handle whatever lay ahead. The royal ball was a triumph, but for Sophia, the night was far from over. After the music faded and the guests returned to their chambers, King Roland called for a private family gathering in the throne room. The flickering torches cast a warm glow as the king addressed his children. "Tonight, Enchantia has truly welcomed Sophia into our royal family," he declared. "But there remains one final step, her official coronation as Princess of Enchantia." Sophia gasped. Though she had worn the title since her mother's wedding, the coronation meant being formally recognized before the kingdom. The weight of responsibility pressed on her, but so did a quiet joy. Miranda squeezed her hand, whispering, "You're ready." The following morning, the entire kingdom gathered in the courtyard. Banners fluttered in the breeze, trumpets rang out, and villagers crowded shoulder to shoulder to witness the moment. Sophia stood before them in her lavender gown, her amulet gleaming brighter than ever. Amber and James flanked her, while King Roland and Queen Miranda looked on with pride. As the crown was placed gently on Sophia's head, a hush fell over the crowd. Then King Roland proclaimed, "I present to you Princess Sophia of Enchantia." The courtyard erupted in cheers, and Sophia's heart swelled. She wasn't just a village girl anymore, nor merely a princess by marriage. She was truly part of the kingdom. But even in this moment of joy, Sophia remembered the lessons she had learned. She thought of Cinderella's encouragement, Snow White's wisdom, Clover's loyalty, and her family's love. She realized that her journey wasn't about wearing gowns or attending balls. It was about living with kindness, courage, and humility. Amber, humbled by Sophia's generosity the night before, stepped forward. For the first time, her voice carried no malice. "You were wonderful last night," she admitted softly. I'm glad you're my sister." Sophia's eyes sparkled as she hugged her, sealing a bond that jealousy could no longer break. James cheered loudly, adding, "Best sister ever," making the crowd laugh. High above, Cedric watched bitterly from his tower window, plotting still. Yet deep down, even he couldn't deny that Sophia's strength lay in something he could never steal: her heart. As the celebration filled the courtyard with music and laughter, Sophia raised her gaze to the horizon. She knew challenges awaited, new lessons at royal prep, the mystery of the amulet, and even threats from those who craved its power. But she was no longer afraid. With her family beside her, and her heart as her compass, Sophia was ready. Her story as a princess had only just begun.